UFC 307 from Salt Lake City, Utah and the Delta Center. We've got the main event for the light heavyweight championship. Khalil Rountree Jr. challenges Poatan Alex Pereira for the 205-pound strap. And in the co-main event, Raquel Pennington has her first title defense and she's taken on Juliana Pena, who has not fought since she lost the championship to Amanda Nunes. We will get to that fight when we get there, but we have 12 fights on this card this Saturday night. And folks, if you haven't yet though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more UFC Weekly here on the channel. I believe the UFC has a card every single week from now until the John Jones card in November. So make sure again to hit that subscribe button down below because we're going to be doing one of these videos every single week. And tomorrow on the channel, we will have in 3 days on the channel, Wednesday, we will have our NFL predictions for week number 5, so go make sure to check that video out when it does come. On Tuesday, we'll have our college football predictions, and as well, we will have our MLB wild card round predictions. We have not done MLB predictions yet here on the channel. We've been doing a lot of college football and NFL. We've seen a lot of success with both. We're going to be doing the MLB as well when the wild card round comes out. We probably have to wait till Monday night to post that video because we're waiting on the Braves and the Mets in terms of that debacle, and the Diamondbacks, I guess, are losing a bunch of games as well. So we'll see who gets in the National League. But again, our wild card predictions for the MLB will be out on late Monday night or Tuesday. Not completely sure just yet. But let's get into the Contender Series first before we get on to UFC 307. And this is not, of course, the Contender Series. We start off first with Christian Savoy. Probably butchered it. Taking on Jacoby Smith. We're going with Jacoby Smith to win the fight. He's an AKA guy from Oklahoma. I just like what we've seen out of him more than Christian Savoy. For Savvy, he lost in CFFC a couple years ago to Basil Hafez. Obviously not a horrible loss at all. Hafez in the UFC. I just like what we get out of Jacoby Smith a lot more. He's the younger guy by 2 years. Again, Dana White says it all the time when he comes on the Contender Series. I'm not looking for 30-year-old contenders. That's kind of what Christian is coming out of Canada, out of New Brunswick, Canada. This fight's in the welterweight division. Jacoby Smith is the way bigger fighter. This is a guy in Christian who has to cut from 85. That's where he last fought. This is definitely his much more natural weight class, but still he's taking on a guy 28 years old. He's again Jacoby Smith doesn't even use all 170 pounds. He weighed in his last fight at 168. Again, he's the bigger fighter too. He's 6'2" compared to Christian being 5'11". I like Jacoby Smith. I just think he's the better talent and the better athlete as well. I think he's able to go out here and get a knockout in the first round. Next up in the middleweight division, Torres Finney is back. Can he get the contract this time around in his third time in the Contender Series? I think he does. This is the first round knockout he's been waiting for. Abdullah El Rami, however you want to say his name, isn't very good. I've seen him fight before in the PFL Europe, and sure, he won his only fight in PFL Europe, but this is a guy who was booked to fight Simeon Powell 3 different times. The fight never happened. You know how I know Abdullah El Rami isn't very good? Because the PFL were trying to book him against Simeon Powell. Again, Simeon Powell is one of PFL's guys. And he just fought in Bellator recently. He won a very close fight where he probably should have lost it and didn't do any damage in the third round. But Simeon Powell's been a guy the PFL's been trying to push for the longest time. When PFL Europe first became a thing in 2023, there were 2 fighters that were on the poster for the first PFL Europe card. Dakota DeChivo is fighting for the World Championship against Tyler Santos in November, and Simeon Powell, who ended up losing to Jacob Neto in the PFL Europe Light Heavyweight Championship final. Since then, again, Jacob Neto went to the PFL stateside promotion. He went 0-2 in the Light Heavyweight division. Given he fought the 2 guys who are fighting in the championship, I'm talking about Duvaljan Yagashinamirdov and Impa Kasanganay, and Kasanganay, of course, being the reigning champion, but still, the PFL 205-pound division hasn't really produced anybody all that great, and Abdullah El Rami was in it, and again, he backed out of 3 different fights against Simeon Powell. That's besides the point. He is a regional guy who really shouldn't be in this spot. Torres Finney's 25 years old, won the Contender Series earlier this year by decision. Dana White again told him to go out and get more fights and come back. He won last year in the Contender Series, submitting a guy in Yuri Panfarov who was on Dana White looking for a fight. Finney needs to get a finish to get in the UFC here. This would be his 10th professional victory and his 3rd on the Contender Series. If he wins and gets a finish in this fight, they cannot deny him anymore. And again, you're going to see a bunch of memes of Torres Finney because he's 5'8" and got a 76-inch reach, and he fights at middleweight, but if he's able to put it all together, he should be able to easily close distance against El Rami here. I'm not impressed with anything I've seen of Abdullah El Rami. He's won 1 fight in the PFL, and that's it. This is Torres Finney's fight to lose. He's going to get it done, though, by first round knockout. Next up, David Martinez takes on Xavier Franklin. Interesting fight. I'm going to go with the experience, though, out of David Martinez. I think he gets the win by second round TKO. Again, Xavier Franklin is just a little green. He's only had 5 fights. For David Martinez, he's 10-1 at 26 years of age. He has not fought in a year, and he hasn't really fought anybody of all that, much hype on the regional promotion. I believe he's not Lux. He's fighting Combate. He's a former Combate 135-pound champion. Xavier Franklin so far in the regional scene has not fought in a well-known promotion. I believe he's fighting at an Elevation Fight Team, I believe in Denver, Colorado, and he's fighting in the promotion Peak Fighting Championship, which again is in Colorado. He has not fought in a recognizable American regional just yet, and it's not hard to get on those shows either, and he hasn't really beat anybody all that great. I'm taking the experience out of David Martinez, and I'm taking David Martinez because he's fought the better guys, too. Give me David Martinez to win the fight by second round TKO. Next up, Carlos Calderon takes on Alberto Montes. I'm taking Alberto Montes to win the fight by first round submission. He's by far the better grappler in this fight, and Carlos Calderon has lost 2 fights out of 8 so far in his professional career. It's one to Mataz Ascar a year ago in Combate, and then Elijah Leggett in Combate as well. He's bounced back and won back-to-back fights, but his last win against a guy who's 3-2 in LFA, and that's his first fight in the LFA promotion as well. For Alberto Montes, 9-1. The one loss does come 2 years ago against a 2-0 guy in Titan FC, and I'm not gonna lie to you. Alberto Montes doesn't, again, wipe me off my feet either. If that's the right expression, it probably isn't. But he's 30 years old. He doesn't really do anything all that great. Yeah, he's a good grappler, but again, he's not gonna come off the books or anything as this amazing guy the UFC needs to have. I'm taking Montes to win the fight, but am I overly impressed? No. I think he gets it done by first round submission, and he'll probably get a contract because anyone gets a contract if you have a nice finish, but I think this fight's really set up for him to win against a guy, again, who's only had 8 pro fights, and I understand Montes has only had 10, but Montes has been much better so far early in his career. Give me Montes to win the fight by first round sub. As we go on to the final fight here, a really interesting one. I don't know what to get at DR. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. Out of Kazakhstan. He's taken on a 6'4 Polish fighter here in Bartosz Suwicki, who again is 8-2-1, who has, put together 3 straight wins. He's won in UAE Warriors before, and for Dayar, this guy's won in Eagle FC before as well, has not fought in Eagle FC, obviously, in 2 years, because Eagle FC doesn't really run stuff anymore. He's coming off a win over a former PFL name in Emiliano Sordi, and at one point, again, Emiliano Sordi was a very good victory. Now I don't really know what to make of that. I'm taking DR to win the fight by decision, but, actually, no, it's a light heavyweight fight. I'm going to take him by second round TKO. I'm not overly impressed just yet. We'll see what we get. Again, someone probably gets knocked out in this fight. I think DR gets it. We'll see what happens. Okay, on to the first of our 12 fights, and we start things off with 2 veterans of the sport. The Dirty Bird, Tim Means, who is 40 years old, takes on the 39-year-old Court McGee. I don't know, maybe if I just got Mandela effect, but I thought Court McGee retired. I really thought he did after he lost to Alex Morono. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. He didn't get knocked out in the Morono fight like he did against Jeremiah Wells and against Matt Brown. But again, I'm getting Mandela here, but I thought Court McGee retired, and now he's taking on the Dirty Bird, Tim Means, who's coming off a loss in his last fight where he got knocked out in April against Uros Medic with an uppercut. He's won 1 of his last 4 fights, and it's a win over Andrea Fiallo, who everybody beats. This should be a double retirement fight. I respect the legends. I respect the veterans of the sport. I do, and again, I give all the credit in the world to these guys. These guys are going to have more fights in their lives than I ever will. But I don't really know what the intrigue of having Court McGee and Tim Means fight in the big 2024, and one of these guys is 39, the other one's 40. What can we get out of both these guys in this point in their careers? Well, Court McGee's incredibly chinny. I don't know how Alex Morono didn't knock him out. I don't know how Alex Morono didn't really wipe the floor with him. Morono really didn't do anything all that impressive in the Court McGee fight. Guys, you can make the case Court McGee actually beats Alex Morono in that fight. Morono did not look very good. But again, that we can wipe that off the board. What are we looking at in this fight with Tim Means and Court McGee? Well, Tim Means is the better striker. There's no denying that. Court McGee got knocked down by Matt Brown and got knocked out. Jeremiah Wells put him out. Court McGee is just a sitting duck on the feet kind of at this point in time. And yeah, okay, you can go back a couple years ago and he knocked down Ramiz Brahimaj. Well, Ramiz Brahimaj. I think, is he fighting Mickey Gall in November? I think he might be. But Court McGee in losses, other than Morono, every time he's lost a fight, he's been knocked down. Since 2019, Sean Brady knocked him down, Carlos Condit knocked him down, Jeremiah Wells, Matt Brown, then Morono didn't, and he barely got by. But Tim Means is the much better striker. And sure, okay, Tim Means just got knocked out against Uros Medic. That's fine. Court McGee's not knocking Tim Means out. the advantage that Court McGee has in this fight is an advantage he has in most fights against guys who, I'm not going to say Tim Means can't wrestle, but it's against guys, again, Court McGee's going to try to get the fight down to the ground. I don't know if he can do so against Tim Means. Tim Means is not a bad grappler. Really, again, he's not a bad wrestler either. It's hard to take this guy down. Means has a 65% takedown defense rate so far in the UFC, and again, this is a guy who's been in the UFC for a very long time. Means is not afraid to try to go out there and submit you. He's pulled guillotines before. I go back to the Thiago Alves fight in DC back in 2019. He was able to submit him in the first round. Tim Means is not a bad defensive grappler at all, and I think it really gives Court McGee a lot of problems in this fight, because once Tim Means stuffs the takedowns, I think Court McGee gets stuck in a striking battle against Tim Means, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm picking Tim Means to win by knockout. I'm taking Tim Means by first round knockout here to start off this card. Something we gotta just, again, we have to say it going into this fight card. Elevation will be a factor going into this one. Again, we are up in Salt Lake City for this card. Will it play too much of a factor? I don't think it's the biggest thing compared to, fighting in Denver, fighting in Mexico. But it will play somewhat of a factor. Now, I don't think this fight gets there, but again, styles like that will tend to hurt wrestlers at points if a wrestler is trying to, dig deep and try to, win a 15-minute decision by grinding out the fight. But again, you can make that same case about strikers too. It's really just a matter of if, the fighter you have is managing their cardio well. That's besides the point in this fight. Tim Means is the better fighter. I don't think Court McGee will be able to take him down. And I know, again, both these guys have just lost a lot recently. Means has lost 4 of 5. McGee's lost 3 in a row. This is rough, guys. This is rough. These are two, again, veterans of the sport. I would like to see both guys retire after this fight. Like when Ed Herman fought Zach Cummings in Kansas City, a year ago or last summer in 2023. They both guys hung it up after the fight. I'd like to see this with these two guys rather than, Tim Means wins the fight, and then we got to see him in the Apex in January, taking on an up-and-coming guy off the Contender Series. I don't want to see that. I want to see both these guys right off into the sunset with no matter the result of this fight. I think Tim Means is the better guy, though. I think Court McGee will get stuck shooting for some takedowns. I think Means will stuff him. And I think on the feet, again, I don't know where Court McGee's chin is at this point of his career. And same with Tim Means as well, being 40 years old, just getting knocked out, turning it around, 5 months later. But I'm not worried about Court McGee knocking out Tim Means. I'm worried about Court McGee standing and dealing with what the Dirty Bird can throw back at him. And I understand Tim Means is kind of a volume guy at this point of his career, but Court McGee's chin is gone. He gets cracked pretty easily. Give me Tim Means to win the fight by first round knockout. I could see it happening in the second as well, but give me the Dirty Bird by first round knockout to start off the card. Again, I did not think I was going to be picking Tim Means by first round knockout in 2024, but I didn't think a lot of things were going to happen in 2024. So, life is life. Let's move on to our next one. We go to the light heavyweight division. We've got Ryan Spann taking on Ovince St. Preux. Ovince St. Preux, believe it or not, is coming off of a victory in the UFC, again, in the year of 2024. We've got the veterans just winning this year, and he's coming off a win over Kennedy and Nzechukwu, who, might have fought one of the worst fights I've ever seen against Ovince St. Preux. St. Preux was able to just outstrike him the entire fight. He dropped Nzechukwu late in that fight as well. Really weird. I was very disappointed in Kennedy going into that fight, but now OSP is coming off a win, taking on Ryan Spann, who at one point in time was coming off a victory over Dominic Reyes, was going to main event a UFC Fight Night card, ranked number 7 in the weight class against Nikita Krylov, and now he's lost 3 in a row. Losing to Krylov, he got subbed in the first round, shout out to Nikita Krylov. He's not dead, guys. He's not dead. He's going to be fighting in November against Azamat Murzakanov in Madison Square Garden, so I'm very glad Krylov is still with us, because again, there were points in time, we mentioned it on the channel too, where I don't know if Nikita Krylov was alive or not. Luckily, again, he's still with us, so now we can make jokes about it. Anyways, Ryan Spann then loses to Anthony Smith. Again, I guess Anthony Smith fought like Ryan Spann was breaking into his house. Okay, I'll stop making stupid jokes. And then Ryan Spann then fought Anthony Smith again in Bogdan Guskov and lost by knockout in the second round. So this is where Ryan Spann's at now. Can Ovince St. Preux knock out Ryan Spann? Sure, it can happen. I wouldn't bank on it, though. Regardless of what Ovince St. Preux did in his last fight, I still want to mention he's 41 years old. He's won 1 fight in the last 2 years. His last one prior to Kennedy and Nzechukwu is Shogun Rua, which actually brings me to my next point. Ovince St. Preux's actually won 2 out of his 3 last fights. His loss is Felipe Lins, where he got knocked down in the first round in 2023. Everything points to Ryan Spann winning this fight. Guys, there's a reason Ryan Spann is a minus 340 favorite. Because again, no way, no how is Ovince St. Preux knocking this guy out. And no way, no how is Ovince St. Preux going in here and, you know, effectively outstriking and out-voluming Ryan Spann for 15 minutes. This fight should not last longer than 3 minutes. This should look like how Ryan Spann did Dominic Reyes a couple years ago in New York. That's what this fight should be. This is a test for Ryan Spann to see if he still has it, because if he doesn't have it, he should be fighting guys coming off the Contender Series. I'm serious. Because, guys, if Ovince St. Preux wins this fight, OSP at 41 years old is going to get a ranking. It can't happen. It can't happen. No disrespect to OSP. Again, another veteran of the sport who I respect a lot. But no. Ryan Spann, if the sport isn't stupid, which, you know, it is sometimes, Ryan Spann should win the fight. He's the way better striker. He's got way better hands. He hits way harder. And I don't think OSP's got the punching power to put him away. Even when he knocked down Nzejuku, it was not like Nzejuku was, you know, dead to rights. Nzejuku was just tired at the end of that fight, but it's not like OSP had him in trouble. He was just out-voluming him. Now, OSP's not going to be able to out-volume Ryan Spann, because if he does and he trades in the pocket with Ryan Spann, is going to put him on his ass and knock him out. I feel pretty good about Ryan Spann winning this fight. Again, I've seen stupider stuff happen in MMA where big favorites lose, but I really don't see a world where OSP beats Spann. Again, Ryan Spann, still 33 years old. He's still at peak condition in, you know, as in terms of an athletic ability. Again, OSP, they're going to mention, oh, he's, you know, Tennessee guy, Knoxville, Rocky Top, but he's 41 years old. So give me Ryan Spann to win the fight by first round knockout. We're starting off this card with 2 first-round KOs. Spann, again, is just better than OSP everywhere. I would be a little concerned if Ryan Spann does try to take him down, because Spann does utilize his wrestling some, and then, oh, what if he gets stuck in a guillotine, or what if he gets stuck in a Von Flue? That will all have to start. The Von Flue will have to start if OSP tries to take him down, then Spann holds onto a guillotine. But, guys, I just want to mention, Ryan Spann does defend takedowns with his guillotine. He does. That's how guys get Von Prued or Von Flued. I just hope Fortis MMA has prepared Ryan Spann for that scenario. Just don't defend it with the guillotine. Just if you're going to get taken down, you're going to get taken down. Just work back up to your base, because the last thing you want is the guy with the best Von Flue in UFC history to get you into Von Flue, because then you're screwed. Ask Yushin Okami how that went. There's a lot of guys who have tried that. I think Ryan Spann should be fine. I spent too much time on this fight. Ryan Spann should win the fight by first round knockout. There's a lot of veterans on this card, so I'm going to have a lot to say, because, you know, I've been watching these fighters for a very long time, just like I've been watching Carla Esparza and Tisha Torres for a very long time as well. This is a rematch that you didn't know you wanted until you got it, but we've got Carla Esparza taking on Tisha Torres. I understand her name is Tisha Pennington. On the graphic, I put Pennington too, so, you know, there you go. But I've been calling Tisha Torres for, you know, 10 years now. It rolls off the tongue. This is a rematch of their initial fight, if I can remember it. Did they find the Ultimate Fighter? It was the Ultimate Fighter, right? Yes, it was on the Ultimate Fighter. It was the second round. Carla Esparza beats Tisha Torres by majority decision. Of course, Carla Esparza then eventually would beat Jessica Penne and then go on to beat Rose Namajunas in the championship fight to become the inaugural 115 women's champion, and obviously lose to Joanna Jędrzejczyk. But shout out to Carla Esparza again. She built her way back. She eventually won the belt again by beating Rose Namajunas in their rematch. And of course, she ended up losing it to Zhang Wei Li, and she has not fought since. Obviously, Carla's coming off of having a kid, which good for her. We've got 2 mothers in this fight. Tisha obviously had one with her wife, Raquel Pennington. It's great. Awesome. And, you know, you got 2 mothers going into this fight. You know, we're going to have 2 other mothers on this card, Raquel Pennington and Juliana Pena. I'm not saying anything, guys. And, you know, it is what it is, right? But you got 2 childbirthing women in this fight in Esparza and Pennington, and it'll be interesting. Is this the first time that's ever happened? I think... No, maybe Michelle Watterson. No, wait. This might be the first time. I could be completely blanking on it. I know, again, they made a big deal out of Juliana Pena versus Amanda Nunes, 2 mothers in a championship fight. But again, Juliana Pena was right in saying this. And we're going to get to Juliana later. And Juliana's obviously got a lot of stuff to say. But Juliana was right in the fact that she said, well, I actually birthed the child and Amanda didn't. But anyways, Carla and Tisha Torres, again, when Carla Esparza left the sport, she was still the world champion. I understand she lost it to Zhang Wei Li, but again, when Carla Esparza left the sport for 2 years, she was the #1 contender who had just lost the championship. And I understand it. Carla Esparza won the championship against Rose Namajunas the second time around in the worst title fight in UFC history. But she still won the fight. She did enough. We picked that one right, by the way. I've picked Carla Esparza a lot, by the way. I picked her to be Rose Namajunas. I didn't pick her to be Zhang Weili. I'm not stupid. But I picked her to be Rose Namajunas. I picked her to beat Yan Xiaonan. I picked her to beat Marina Rodriguez as well. I was every step of the way on the Carla Esparza title run. I want to make that very clear. And I was pushing for the Carla Esparza title run for the very longest time, too. So I just want to put that out there. But when Carla Esparza left the sport, and by the way, she has a win over Alexa Grasso in 2019 as well. People thought Grasso got robbed in that fight. She might have, but whatever. Carla Esparza has lost one fight, guys, since 2018. And that's Zhang Weili in her last fight. She lost to Tatiana Suarez, obviously, in 2018 as well. I know it's been announced that Carla Esparza is on her way out the sport. After this fight, she's going to be retiring, which is fine. I don't know if Tecia Torres is doing the same exact thing. I've heard rumblings, at least on Twitter. I don't know how. Again, I don't know how valid this is. I've heard that maybe this is double retirement, kind of like Tim Means and Court McGee is in the first fight on this card. But I know for a fact Carla Esparza is retiring. But guys, in both points of Carla Esparza and Tecia Torres' career, at no point has Tecia Torres ever been better than Carla Esparza. At no point. And I understand it. Again, Esparza's coming off of having a kid. But Tecia Torres just did that too. And I understand Torres has actually looked decent since coming back. She still hasn't won a fight. It was one fight against Tabatha Ricci, which she definitely won. And don't get me wrong, I had Tabatha Ricci, but Tecia Torres definitely won the fight. Torres got robbed. It's fine. There's reasons why they pushed Tabatha Ricci, and she's getting Yan Xiaonan in China. But anyways, you and I both know why they like Tabatha Ricci. But Tecia Pennington, I said it, Tecia Torres, didn't look bad in the Ricci fight. Again, Tabatha Ricci, the only thing she did in that fight was kind of push Pennington or Torres back against the fence, and this is kind of what Ricci does. I thought Torres won a lot of the striking exchanges in that fight. Now again, my point being, Carla Esparza, though, I understand she's just coming off having a kid, and Tecia Torres has had that fight since having a kid. But in both of their careers, Carla Esparza's always been better at every single point. And this is not going to help my case at all, but I'm just going to say it for the sake of saying it. The last time I said this about two fighters was a while ago, but it was when Cowboy Cerrone fought Jim Miller during International Fight Week in Cowboy's last fight, and I said during Cowboys and Jim Miller's career, Cowboy's always been better than Jim Miller, so what's going to change now when they're both washed and both old? Well, obviously I got that wrong. But I'm going to use that logic in this fight. Carla Esparza is the better wrestler. Carla Esparza should be able to take Tecia Torres down. I don't know why Carla Esparza is an underdog. She was the number one contender when she left the sport. Her wrestling still is not bad. That's not going to go away. And Tecia Torres is going to outstrike her. Well, Carla Esparza is definitely going to out-wrestle Tecia Torres. So give me Cookie Monster, what a nickname, Carla Esparza to go out here and win this fight. In her retirement fight, she will get it done by unanimous decision. Again, we will see how her cardio is, especially in Salt Lake City as well, at elevation. That's fine. I think Carla Esparza is still the better fighter. I think she uses her wrestling. Again, Tecia Torres has never been in the title hunt in her career. Carla Esparza has won the belt twice and has been in the top 5 her entire career. I know she dropped all the way back down to like 11 at one point, but again, Esparza's always been around the top 5. She's always been around the championship. Pennington has never been, or Torres has never been to that level. Give me Carla Esparza to win the fight by unanimous decision. We go on to our next one here. We have got Austin Hubbard taking on Alexander Hernandez. This fight was just recently announced, so I don't have odds yet on it, but you got Alexander Hernandez, who is in desperate need of a win, and believe it or not, if he loses this fight, there is a very good chance Alexander Hernandez is out of the UFC. He's 14-8. He's lost 4 out of his last 5 fights. You go back and look at the fights. Sure, they're tough names. Renato Moicano, who's coming off a huge victory. Shout out to Money Moicano beating Benoit Saint-Denis. A loss to Billy Quarantillo. A win over Jim Miller, which is a really weird outlier considering Jim Miller's been winning fights. A loss to Bill Algeo and a loss to Damon Jackson by split decision in April of 2024. He's getting Austin Hubbard in this fight, who, Hubbard's coming back after the Ultimate Fighter, right? He loses the final to Kurt Hollowball, but then he comes back and beats Michelle Figlak by unanimous decision in April. Nothing really jumps off the page for me on Austin Hubbard. He never has really been some guy who I've looked at as a really solid UFC name. I'm just going to be honest with you. And I kind of don't want to use this logic in back-to-back fights, but I'm going to use it. Again, Alexander Hernandez has always been a higher-level guy than Austin Hubbard. You look at what Alexander Hernandez has, he's always had the better striking than Austin Hubbard. All around, Alexander Hernandez is the better fighter. And I understand he's lost 4 of his last 5 fights. But I feel like this is a big step up for Austin Hubbard. He's coming off of being cut from the UFC, coming back in the Ultimate Fighter, losing to Kurt Hollowball, beating a very low-level guy in Figlak, to fighting Alexander Hernandez, who, don't get me wrong, absolutely needs a win, absolutely needs to pick up a victory and get back on the win column. But I think this kind of is a way for the UFC to keep Hernandez around. They want him to win a fight, so they give him Austin Hubbard, who is a guy who, sure, is coming off of a win, but it's a low-level win, and a guy who just got cut from the UFC. He's 4-5 as a whole in the promotion, but this is a lower-level guy Hernandez can fight and get back on the winning ways. I think this is a fight, again, that Hernandez will win. I think if you mix it up with these two guys in the feed, I do like Hernandez a lot. He's a little bit chinny, sure, but Austin Hubbard does not have the knockout power to put him away. On the ground, I'm not overly impressed with Hubbard either. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on Austin Hubbard, but I've never really been impressed with Hubbard at all. The one thing that I think will really favor Austin Hubbard is if this is a really gritty fight, and if this fight is, again, a back-and-forth war, and we're getting into a really close fight going into the third round, I would actually, if this fight's 1-1 going into the third, I would favor Austin Hubbard a lot, and I look to live bet him. Why? Austin Hubbard trains in Denver. He's used to the elevation. If this is a drag-him-out war, Alexander Hernandez trains in San Antonio. Austin Hubbard trains in Denver. He's just used to that. I think, again, it's a very significant, sorry, not significant. It's a very specific way that I would favor Austin Hubbard going into the third round. If it's a fight that there's not much action, again, the pace really isn't all that high, and it's 1-1, I'd still favor Hernandez. Or if Hernandez is up 2-0 going into the third round, I favor Hernandez, obviously. I don't think Hubbard will have enough in him to get Hernandez out of there in the third round. But if this is a high, paced war on the feet between these two guys, or even if they're just scrambling on the ground, if it's a high-paced fight going into the third and it's 1-1, I don't care who wins the first and the second round. If it's 1-1, I'd go with Austin Hubbard, because, again, he's used to it. But I don't think that happens. I think Alexander Hernandez banks the first two rounds. I think he wins those first two rounds on the feet and on the ground. I just think all around he's better. And I think, again, Hubbard will probably win the third, but I think the first rounds go to Alexander Hernandez. I think he gets it done. He needs a win to stay in the UFC, and I think he will get it in a must-win fight. It's actually not a must-win fight for Austin Hubbard, but yeah, I really do like Alexander Hernandez to go out here and pick up the victory. Again, it's a fight that he has to have, and I think he does get it. Let's go on to our next one here. We go now to the light heavyweight division. We have got, the middleweight division. Ihor Potieria has beat Shogun before, but this is back down to 85. Cesar Almeida takes on Ihor Potieria. For the Ukrainian in Potieria, this is a guy who's coming off of a guillotine choke loss at UFC 301 on the main card to Michel Pereira, who's going to be in a main event coming up in a couple weeks against Alexander Fluffy Hernandez in the Apex, of course. But Potieria has been somewhat of a company guy so far. He took that fight on short notice against Pereira to save that that main card fight at UFC 301 in Brazil. Potieria, though, again, has been one of these guys who has never really impressed me. He beat Robert Brysek in February of 24. Now, I was at a Thai restaurant while that fight was happening, so I did not get to watch it live. Even though I wanted to. I'm just kidding. I didn't. I had much more important things going on in my life at the time. But I went back and rewatched the fight. Nothing that Potieria did in that fight really impressed me. He knocks down Brysek, but that was more for me personally. I didn't think Brysek looked all that good. I think we were sold a false bag of goods going into Robert Brysek's days in the UFC, and Potieria beat him okay. And who is Ihor's other win in the UFC? Oh, it's Shogun, when Shogun left the promotion, where Shogun was on his way out the door. Now, I don't know why the UFC couldn't have, and I was campaigning for this at the time, I don't know why the UFC couldn't have just brought in Lyoto Machida for one fight and ran Lyoto Machida and Shogun Rua at UFC 283 in January of 2023. That would have been an awesome fight. Just, again, send both those guys out with that one fight. Sign, again, Machida for one fight. He was off his Bellator deal. He's coming off a loss against Fabian Edwards. You could have done that one fight. They didn't. And instead, we got Shogun getting slaughtered in Brazil by Ihor Potieria, who did a Fortnite dance after he beat Shogun Rua. And the guy is, 1-3 since in the UFC. They fed him to Carlos Ulberg after that. Ulberg knocked him out. Rodolfo Bellato went in there and knocked him out in the second round, an actually really good fight. And then he beat Brysek, and then he lost to Michel Pereira. I haven't talked about his opponent yet. It's Cesar Almeida. This fight really, I don't think Cesar Almeida is going to be Carlos Ulberg, don't get me wrong, but this fight kind of reminds me of, Carlos Ulberg versus Ihor Potieria. Potieria doesn't shoot takedowns. He doesn't do it. He doesn't wrestle at all. He's a pure striker who, again, this was evident, and this was very obvious when they booked against Ulberg. It was a fight to get Ulberg a victory and to capitalize on Potieria. Oh, he beat Shogun, and now we can have, Ulberg beat him. Now, I don't know what we're capitalizing on here, but we're capitalizing on the fact that we want Almeida to beat Potieria. At least that's what the UFC wants. Again, Ihor doesn't shoot takedowns. He's a straight kickboxer, but he's fighting now just a kickboxer in Cesar Almeida. Cesar Almeida will struggle against grapplers, obviously, right? He will struggle against wrestlers. That's what Roman Kopylov did. Kopylov, who is not a wrestler at all, who's a primary striker, who did knock down Cesar Almeida in that fight, but that's, again, Kopylov took him down and effectively did so in New Jersey at UFC 302 and won the fight. Dylan Budka, again, more of a pure wrestler, but again, a guy who was willing to strike. But again, Budka saw all of his success against Cesar Almeida in April of 2024 because it was wrestling. Eventually, Almeida caught up to him and knocked him out. But again, that's how guys will beat Cesar Almeida. Ihor Potieria is, matchup-wise, a stylistic nightmare. This is a stylistic nightmare for Ihor Potieria. It just is. Because he's not going to wrestle. He's just going to strike with Cesar Almeida. He thinks he's going to be able to outstrike this guy, and he's going to get knocked out in the first round. It's the same exact thing that happened in the Carlos Ulberg fight. Ihor Potieria, again, he doesn't really wrestle, and when he does, he's just not that good at it. He tried to take down Shogun Rua, couldn't. Tried to take down Ulberg, couldn't. Even the Bryzek fight, tried to take him down 4 times. Couldn't. He's not a good wrestler at all. I think he's like 0 for 9 so far in the UFC in shooting takedowns. And sure, if he ever gets one, it will be against Cesar Almeida. But I just don't think he's wrestling good enough. And even if he does get his first takedown in the UFC, I don't feel confident in the guy riding it out for 15 minutes. I think eventually he'll get knocked out. Even if he, somehow wins the first 2 rounds, I think he'll tire himself out getting those takedowns in the first 2, and eventually he'll get knocked out. And besides, I don't think that happens. I think Cesar Almeida knocks the guy out in the first round. But I just think there's so many things that kind of go our way in favor of picking Cesar Almeida in this fight. And again, he's a minus 400 favorite for a reason. So give me Cesar Almeida to win the fight. I feel like this is one of the more obvious ones on the card. It's not the lock of the night, because the lock of the night's coming up later. You might have a wild guess what that is. But yeah, give me Cesar Almeida to win this fight again. It's very similar to Ihor's fight against Carlos Ulberg earlier in Ihor's UFC career. It feels like somewhat of a setup fight. So let's go on to our next one. Now in the women's strawweight division, we go back to this weight class. We've got Marina Rodriguez taking on Yasmin Lucindo. I've been very split on this pick since this fight's been announced. Believe it or not, yes, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this one, Rodriguez and Lucindo. Lucindo's only going to get better. I've made that I've known about that. She's only 22 years old. She came into the UFC at 20? When she fought Yasmin Yayargi, who, God, I just wasn't the prospect we thought she was. But, that fight in San Diego in August of 22 was very good. Since then, again, Lucindo hasn't lost. She beat Brogan Walker, beat Polyana Viana, and has now beat Karolina Kowalkiewicz, who was on somewhat of a career resurgence as of late. But again, Lucindo went out there and beat her by decision. Now we get Lucindo and Marina Rodriguez. Now, Rodriguez, again, is older. She's 37 years old. Lucindo, for the second time in a row, is taking on a fighter that's much older than her. Karolina Kowalkiewicz is 38. Lucindo, again, 16 years younger. She's now fighting a fighter she's 15 years younger than Marina Rodriguez. Rodriguez is 37 years old. She's lost 3 out of 4 fights, only win being Michelle Waterson-Gomez, who obviously no longer fights. The losses aren't bad losses. I'll give her that. Jessica Andrade, Vina Jandiroba, Amanda Lemos. But Yasmin Lucindo right now is just being set up eventually to be I don't know about a champion, but she's being set up currently, the way they're building her, to be a future title challenger. Just look again. This is the best place. If you are trying to get Lucindo in the top 6 of the weight class, this is the perfect fight to do so with her. She's ranked number 14. They're giving her number 6, and number 6 who's lost 3 of 4 fights. I don't know how much Marina Rodriguez has left in the tank. She's 37 years old. She's been in a lot of battles. She's taken a lot of damage in her career. Even in the Andrade fight, where I thought she lost, again, she did by split decision, she took some damage in that fight, and Andrade got it done by decision. The Jandiroba fight, she got put on her back the entire fight. But again, even in her last main event against Amanda Lemos TKO'd her in the 3rd round. Again, Rodriguez has just taken a lot of damage in her career. And it was weird because Rodriguez went a little bit of a winning streak. She beat Gomez in a main event, Waterson-Gomez in 2021. She beat Mackenzie Dern in a main event in 2021 as well. And then beat Yang Jianan, and then didn't get a title shot. She still had to fight Amanda Lemos, who beat her in a main event. Lemos ended up getting the title shot. And now, again, Rodriguez is here on the undercard of a pay-per-view fighting Yasmin Lucindo, who's 22 years old, who the UFC is really just using, again, Rodriguez to build up Lucindo at this point. I think Lucindo's better. I think she's the better striker at both these fighters' careers at this point in time. Yes, I am taking Yasmin Lucindo in a striking fight against Marina Rodriguez right now. I think she's better. On the ground, too, Marina Rodriguez doesn't really do anything all that well on the ground. We've seen, again, Yang Jianan. We've seen Vina Jandiroba. Fighters have success against Marina Rodriguez once the fight hits the mat. I wouldn't be surprised if Lucindo does as well. But for me personally, at least in picking Lucindo, I feel like that's a backup plan for Yasmin going into this fight, because I think she's a better striker than Marina Rodriguez. For a while, I was actually planning on picking Marina to win this fight, but as I look at it, again, I like Lucindo on the ground. On the feet, I think they are evenly matched, but it's just, to me, I haven't seen Lucindo against a really good striker yet. This is her test. I'm willing to bank on, even if she isn't able to win the striking battles against Marina Rodriguez, well, she should be able to mix it up on the ground and ride out takedowns and ride out control time to a victory. So that's why I feel better about picking Lucindo in this fight. I want to think she's the better striker. I think she is, especially, again, with Rodriguez being 37 at this point. And don't get me wrong, again, Lucindo's only going to improve. She's 22 years old, and again, this is a fight to get her in the top 6. Again, at 22, she's only going to get better, but still, a 22-year-old Yasmin Lucindo, I think, beats Marina Rodriguez, who, I'll be honest with you, I think is a little bit over the hill at 37 years old. She's really not looked like the Rodriguez that we've known since the Yan Zhao fight, and maybe even the Mackenzie Dern fight. Yeah, she beat Waterson Gomez the second time around, but we knew that was going to happen. Michelle Waterson, again, it was way past her peak at that point in time. I like Lucindo to win the fight. I think, again, striking-wise, grappling-wise, I like Lucindo all around here. She's the underdog on Tapology, but she's the favorite on the betting line. We are taking the betting favorite, Yasmin Lucindo, to win the fight by unanimous decision, getting her biggest win of her career at 22 years old. Again, when both her and Yayargi started in the UFC back in San Diego 2 summers ago, did you think that Lucindo was going to be the one in the top 5 very soon? I didn't think so, but 2 years after making her UFC debut, a little bit over 2 years after making her UFC debut, I think Yasmin Lucindo breaks into the top 5 of the women's strawweight division. Give me Lucindo to pick up the victory against a former headliner in Marina Rodriguez. To our next one, it is the headliner of the prelims. We have got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson taking on Joaquin Buckley. I don't know if this is it for Thompson if he loses. Obviously, if he wins, I don't think he's going to hang it up, but I would be a little bit concerned if Wonderboy does lose this fight if this is it. I'm going to say it right now. Personally, I don't think he loses to Joaquin Buckley. I understand, and I get it. Stephen Thompson's 41 years old. But I'm still yet to see someone out-kickbox Stephen Thompson in the UFC. Okay, other than when, Anthony Pettis bounced off the cage and Superman punched him in Nashville. And, the second Woodley fight, sure, you could say Woodley barely got by him in the second fight. I did think the first fight was a draw. But I'm still yet to see someone out-kickbox Stephen Thompson. Guys, I don't think Joaquin Buckley knocks him out. I don't think he does. He beat Nurulstan Ruzbayev in his last fight. Well, Ruzbayev looked horrible in that fight in St. Louis. He disappointed the hell out of me. Will Buckley resort to wrestling in this fight? I think there's gonna come a point where he's going to have to go in and try to wrestle Stephen Thompson, because I think Stephen Thompson's the better kickboxer. I think he's the better striker too. Buckley throws hard, sure, but I worry about Buckley closing distance in this fight, because in the way Joaquin Buckley fights, he tries to get inside, he tries to, he will punch the body, but he will wing big shots from close in. It's hard really to close distance against Stephen Thompson. And the ways you do it, again, is if you can bite down the mouthpiece, if you can duck like Woodley did back at 208, 207 when that fight happened. Or no, was it 207? I don't remember. 209. No, that was Connor. It might have been 209. Thompson, Woodley too. Again, the way Woodley was able to knock him down in that fight, the rematch in the first fight at 205, again, it was the same. It's the same Woodley punch that put down Robbie Lawler. Again, duck under, throw the right over the top. Buckley does do the same thing at points, but still, I don't think Buckley's the level of striker that Tyron Woodley was back then. And I'm not saying, again, Wonderboy's like he was when he was challenging for the belt or whatnot, but I do feel like this is somewhat of a levels fight, and I get it. Stephen Thompson's about to turn 42 years old. I understand it, but Stephen Thompson, I don't think his striking's that much worse. You look at what he did against Shavkat, you can't really get much out of that fight. It was a closely contested fight on the feet, but once the fight hit the ground, obviously Shavkat submitted him. Obviously, that was going to happen. Just 2 years ago, Stephen Thompson out-kickboxed Kevin Holland in the main event in Orlando, Florida, and TKO'd him at Dr. Stoppage at the end of the 4th round. Stephen Thompson's still very capable. He's very capable when there's no threat of the wrestling, because obviously that's how guys have beat him recently. Gilbert Burns took him down, wrestled him, won the fight. Bilal Muhammad did the same thing, which at the time looked like a horrible loss, but now look, Bilal Muhammad's the world champion. Shavkat Rakhmonov did the same exact thing. That's how you beat Stephen Thompson. The guys who haven't tried to take down Stephen Thompson recently, and I understand now we're getting into 2019 and 2020, but Vicente Luque, Jeff Neal, those guys kickboxed Stephen Thompson for 25 minutes and 15 minutes respectively, and Stephen Thompson won the fight. We'll see if Buckley tries to take him down. I think he's going to have to, because I think he's going to get pieced up on the feet. I really do think he will. I think Stephen Thompson's going to keep his distance, and Stephen Thompson's going to do what he does with a lot of people. He's going to kick, and he's going to, again, be in and out, throws, ha, ha, because that's how Stephen Thompson fights, obviously, right? but he's going to throw those 1s and 2s, and of course he's going to, I do worry a little bit with Thompson always getting checked and always being countered because, again, he does kind of run into his punches at times. I think we're fine. I'm a little bit concerned watching Thompson fight at 42. You're about to be 42 years of age because I've always liked Stephen Thompson. I've always been a Wonder Boy guy. And so if there is a slight bias in this pick, it will be towards Stephen Thompson. But I'm very big on the fact that I don't think many fighters can out-kickbox Stephen Thompson. Now, again, there's always going to be a threat of the wrestling in any Wonder Boy fight coming back at Wonder Boy, obviously, because there is a blatant hole in his game, and that's the wrestling. But Joaquin Buckley, I don't think he has the best wrestling, I'll be honest with you. He was able to take down Nurulson Ruzboyev at points in the third round. He was actually very effective with his wrestling in the third, but that I think personally was more of Ruzboyev just being dead tired in that third round. Same can be said about the Abdulrazak Alhassan win back in February 2022. If you remember, the Dust guy was in Joaquin Buckley's corner in that fight, but that was more, again, both those guys were dead tired, and Buckley was just able to have a little bit more left in the tank against Abdulrazak Alhassan. He took down Andrea Fiallo. He took down Morono at points, but I'm not blown away by the wrestling of Joaquin Buckley. I don't love the cardio either. I know it's gotten better, obviously, looking at the Ruzboyev fight, but I know Stephen Thompson's able to keep a high output for 15 minutes. I don't care at that elevation because I've seen Stephen Thompson look like the same guy in the 24th minute of the fight than he did in the first minute of the fight in main events before. I'm not concerned with Wonder Boy's cardio and conditioning going into this fight in Utah. I'm a little bit concerned with Buckley's because of the high output that Wonder Boy can put out at points. Again, there are times where Wonder Boy will straight point fight and the fight will be boring. The Darren Till fight is a huge example of that. There are times that Wonder Boy will get into those style of fights. Buckley will bring it to him, but at the same time, Wonder Boy should be able to keep distance, should be able to use his kicks, should be able to work the body to the point where I don't think Buckley's going to be able to catch him. I think Buckley's going to get caught coming in a lot. Just don't get me wrong. Wonder Boy could do the same exact thing. Wonder Boy's not going to get caught coming in with his kicks, obviously, but when he throws his 1s and 2s and when he throws that grazing right hand, it's more of just it's the straight right hand that he kind of leans into. I get scared with Wonder Boy getting countered all the time with it, but at the same time, Curtis caught him coming in. Buckley can get caught as well in that same exact spot. I like Wonder Boy to win the fight by decision. Again, I understand it's going to be a very close fight. I think Wonder Boy will get it done. I just hope he doesn't get knocked out, but if he loses, he probably will get knocked out because I don't think Buckley's going to straight out kickbox him for 15 minutes, I'll be honest with you. There's a chance Buckley goes out there and wrestles, and if that happens, well, it is what it is. I would not put anything on this fight. I understand Wonder Boy's coming back right now at a plus 160 dog. I wouldn't put your money on a about to be 42-year-old Stephen Thompson who can't really wrestle. But I don't mind at the same time Wonder Boy winning the fight. If Wonder Boy wins, it'll probably be by decision, so I think maybe that's something you can look at. But I'm picking Wonder Boy as a fan. I hope he wins, and again, we'll see. But Stephen Thompson, if it wasn't for the age, this would be a levels fight. The age does get a little concerning. And Stephen Thompson, again, has not fought in, 8-9 months. It gets a little tough. I'm still taking Wonder Boy to win. We're going to take him by decision. We will see. I've picked against New Mansa a lot. I'm picking against him here. I picked Ruzboyev to beat him. I think Wonder Boy does it as well. I think Wonder Boy does everything I thought Ruzboyev was going to do on the feet to Buckley. So let's see. Give me Stephen Thompson to win the featured prelim, the featured fight going into the main card. And here we go. We start things off in the main card with Roman Dolidze taking on Kevin Holland in the middleweight division. Roman Dolidze, after having one of the worst fights of all time against Anthony Smith at UFC 303, and yeah, they saved the day, kinda. Did anyone need that fight? No, but they fought it in the light heavyweight division. Do you remember that fight? I don't. Roman Dolidze gets rewarded with the main card spot against Kevin Holland, but obviously, Roman Dolidze is not the reason he's on the main card. It's because of Kevin Holland. Now, this fight, I can break it down for you, this or that, but the simplest way to put this fight is, will Roman Dolidze wrestle? And if he does, can Kevin Holland stop the takedown? Because that's where this that's where this fight's based. Roman Dolidze is not going to outstrike Kevin Holland. And I get it. Kevin Holland gets caught at times. He does. Michal Zolciak caught him. And I'm fine with that now, considering it's been a while since that fight. And I was going into Holland Zolciak, I was concerned. Because Holland just fought 3 pay-per-views before against Michael Venom Page. It's a fight that he lost. He didn't take the most damage, but still, he got caught at points in that fight. So I was concerned with him going in the Zolciak fight right after, because Michal hits very hard. He just does. And he knocked down Holland in the first round, but Zolciak followed him down to the ground. Kevin Holland again got him in the armbar, broke his arm, won the fight in New Jersey. Good for Kevin Holland. Now he gets Roman Dolidze. Again, I do not worry for Kevin Holland at all in the feet in this fight. He is the much better striker between him and Dolidze. Much better. Dolidze is very labored on the feet, especially, again, guys, Roman Dolidze in Utah, if you get him, if somehow if this fight gets in the third round, Roman Dolidze's cardio is absolutely atrocious. So if this fight gets there, Dolidze's screwed. Because, again, his cardio is just god-awful. Watch the Amava fight. I understand it's a 5-round battle, but still, Dolidze is not really there in a high-output fight at the end of the fight. That's all I'm saying. So if Kevin Holland does get in a back-and-forth fist fight with him, I think Holland will have more left in the tank at the end of the 15 minutes. However, again, I don't think that's how this fight goes. I'll get to it eventually. But I don't think Dolidze straight up just out-kickboxes Kevin Holland. Obviously, he's going to have to wrestle him. Kevin Holland's wrestling, though, has gotten a lot better. And Kevin Holland will threaten you off his back like he did against Ozil Shashek. He'll threaten off his back. He'll throw up submissions again like he did in the Ozil Shashek fight. He got the arm bar, right? The Michael Chiesa fight caught him in a Darce choke. Kevin Holland is, same with Tim Means too, he's getting better with his grappling. Now, the Kevin Holland's kryptonite, even like when he was coming off that 5-fight winning streak in 2020, when again he was fighting Marvin Vettori, he was coming off the win over Jacare, he was fighting Derek Brunson, was his takedown defense. It is much improved since then, obviously. And again, Roman Dolidze doesn't impress me anywhere. He doesn't. He throws kind of hard, but he just swings and misses a lot. He telegraphs when he's really winding up to throw something big. When he just tries to out-volume you, a good striker will beat him. And yeah, he out-volumed Anthony Smith, but exactly, Anthony Smith is not a good striker at this point of his career in 2024. Kevin Holland will outstrike Roman Dolidze if we get stuck in a striking battle here, and I don't feel, I'm not scared that Dolidze is going to knock him out. His wrestling isn't bad. He doesn't utilize it all that much, and again, once you get past the first and second round at times, he tires. Nothing about Roman Dolidze really impresses me here. I think eventually Holland's going to catch him. And that's why I'm going to go with Kevin Holland to TKO Roman Dolidze in the second round. Again, he's just the much better overall fighter. And again, if it happens, if Dolidze does put Holland on his back in terms of, he takes him down and, has Holland stuck, I think Holland's good enough to throw up something and just at least threaten the submission against Dolidze. I'm not saying he's going to get it, but if he threatens the submission, it's going to make Dolidze back off a little bit. And I think Dolidze is flying high off his victory against Anthony Smith, where he was dancing in the middle of the octagon in a bad fight. But again, I think he's, flying high after that victory. Maybe he thinks he can go out there and out-kickbox and outbox Kevin Holland. He's not going to do that. So I'm hoping for our sake and for entertainment-wise, I hope it happens. Also, Roman Dolidze is 36 years old. He's not getting any younger. He's, again, he came into the UFC later. He came into the promotion at 32. He strung together a couple wins, won a big fight against Kyle Dawkins. He beat Jack Hermanson where he trapped his leg and, TKO'd him on the ground. That's great. Dolidze, again, he's not getting any younger. Kevin Holland should be able to capitalize on this, and Kevin Holland should be able to win the fight. I think Holland TKOs him in the second round. Dolidze has never been knocked out. This is the time it's going to happen. Holland's going to catch him. Dolidze is going to think he can outstrike Kevin Holland, and he's in for a rude awakening. So give me Trailblazer, Kevin Holland to pick up the victory by second round TKO. As we go on to our next one, we go to the women's bantamweight division. Personally, I don't really know why this fight has to be on the main card, just because I kind of know how this fight's going to go. I would have preferred this spot go to Stephen Thompson and Joaquin Buckley, but it is what it is. We've got Ketlin Vieira taking on Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison's going to beat Ketlin Vieira. I was a little bit... I didn't know what to make of Kayla Harrison coming into the UFC because she wasn't fighting at 145 pounds anymore, and she was coming off of, she beat Aspen Ladd, but before that she lost to Larissa Pacheco for the 145-pound championship in the PFL. Pacheco's going to fight, Chris Cyborg in a couple weeks. We'll see how that goes. On the same card, of course, is Francis Ngannou and Hanan Ferreira over in Saudi Arabia. That's, by the way, a stacked PFL card. Connor Hughes and AJ McKee's on that card, and also Johnny Eblin versus Fabian Edwards is on that card as well. It's a pretty good third PFL pay-per-view card. I'm probably not going to buy it. Personally, I'll just, you know what I'm going to do watching that card. But unless the PFL wants to sponsor the channel, then I'll happily pay for it. But anyways, or I'll happily watch it without, any other devices. But anyways, it's not a bad third pay-per-view card for the PFL in their history. Anyways, Kayla Harrison gets Ketlin Vieira in this fight. Kayla Harrison is going to maul this division for a very long time until Amanda Nunes comes back, if she does, which she's talking about it. I know, again, Juliana Pena's really been talking about, I'm going to win this fight, then I'm going to get the Amanda Nunes fight eventually. I don't think she does, personally. Actually, no, I could see it. I could see Amanda coming in, taking advantage of the opportunity, beating Juliana Pena or Raquel Pennington. I don't think she'll fight Pennington, but if it's Pena, I think she will because it'll be the third fight and because she's got the beef with Pena and Pena talks a lot of crap towards her. I could see Nunes just jumping in, taking the fight, winning the belt, and then vacating it like GSP and then letting Kayla Harrison fight for the vacant championship. I could see it because I don't think Amanda wants none of Kayla Harrison. That's ultimately why I don't think she comes back. But Kayla Harrison's going to run through this division. At 135 pounds, I was skeptical that Kayla Harrison can actually make the weight. But now that she's made the weight, I'm skeptical no more. She's going to dominate this weight class for a very long time. It's that simple. Kayla Harrison's going to dominate. She's going to dominate Kelvin Vieira. I don't care what's coming back at her here in this fight with Vieira. Guys, Vieira doesn't have the knockout power to put her away. She's nowhere near the grappling credentials of Kayla Harrison, obviously, with Harrison's judo. I understand Vieira's got some BJJ and she can wrestle, but guys, she's nowhere near Kayla Harrison. Nowhere close. Kayla Harrison dominates this fight. 2 fights ago, Kelvin Vieira lost to Raquel Pennington. She has not fought since July of 2023. It's been over a year since her win over Pennington. But this is a number 1 contenders fight. Again, Vieira's only loss is, Raquel Pennington, who's now the champion in the last 3 years. Her wins are Miesha Tate, Holly Holm, and Pennington. This is a number 1 contenders fight. But on the feet, again, Kelvin Vieira probably, maybe outstrikes Kayla Harrison on the feet. Kayla Harrison does leave a lot to be desired on the feet, and that's going to be Juliana Pena's talking point if she can beat Raquel Pennington. Her talking point is going to be, I'm a better wrestler than Kayla Harrison. So then I'm going to do with Kayla Harrison what I did to Amanda Nunes. I'm going to bring the fight to her. I'm going to make her fight a back-and-forth war on the feet, and I'm going to tire her out. I'm going to out-damage her on the feet, and I'm going to put her away. It's a very valid talking point out of Juliana Pena. And again, she has not said that yet, or at least I haven't heard that personally because I haven't watched a Juliana Pena interview in a while. Why would I? But I'm predicting that's what Juliana Pena is going to say if she beats Raquel Pennington. She's going to say, I'm going to drag Kayla Harrison into water she's never been in. I'm going to suffer takedowns. I'm going to keep the fight standing, and I'm going to be in her face, and she's going to give up. That's my guess. And honestly, it's not a bad game plan for Juliana if she ever does get that fight. However, this isn't the fight where that's going to happen. Kelvin Vieira is not going to have an answer to the takedowns of Kayla Harrison. I get it. 92% takedown defense rate in the UFC. Guys, who has she fought that's on the wrestling credentials of Kayla Harrison, the grappling credentials of Kayla Harrison? You can hate Juliana Pena all you want. She is still a top 3 grappler in this weight class. She just is. Currently, well, again, because the division's horrible, but currently Juliana Pena is top 3. Wrestling-wise, Kelvin Vieira hasn't seen someone of that caliber of Kayla Harrison. Obviously, Harrison's number 1, but it's not, again, Vieira hasn't fought a Juliana Pena yet. And okay, she fought Sarah McMahon in 2017, and she actually submitted Sarah McMahon, which actually doesn't really help my case all that much. But Sarah McMahon actually wasn't watched in 2017. It's fine. My point being, Kayla Harrison is just so much better than Kelvin Vieira. Sometimes, guys, you don't need to have this, all this evidence on why a fighter is going to win. You look at the 2 fighters on the screen, just look at them. Look at Kayla Harrison, and now look at Kelvin Vieira. Look at the odds. One's a plus 550 underdog, one's a minus 800 favorite. Just look at them, guys. Who's going to win the fight? Tell me with a straight face Kelvin Vieira wins the fight. I'm done trying to actually break this fight down because this could have been over in a minute. And the fight might be over in a minute too. Just look at the 2 fighters and tell me who you think wins. Kayla Harrison gets it done by first round submission. It's not that hard of a pick. Give me Kayla Harrison to get it done. She gets the title shot. She will be back in the crowd for the Raquel Pennington-Juliana Pena fight. The UFC is praying that it is Juliana Pena. That's the only reason Pena is in the title fight, because Pena is the only fighter in this weight class that can actually sell pay-per-views. Love her or hate her, she gets you someone interested. Guys, I'll get to Juliana Pena eventually, but Juliana Pena is going to say some stupid stuff in the press conference, and call it stupid or not, it's going to make you want to watch the fight. It's going to get you somewhat intrigued for the first time in your life about a Raquel Pennington fight. I'm just saying, love her or hate her, she makes you want to tune in, like Colby Covington. It's a way of it. It's marketing. It's marketing. It gets you to watch the fight, because either you want to see him win, or you want to see him get knocked out. One of the two, you're watching the fight. Anyways, we go on to our feature fight here, a much better fight. Jose Aldo Jr. takes on Mario Bautista. I'm really surprised Jose Aldo's an underdog. I'm very surprised he's an underdog going into this one. Because Mario Bautista 2 fights ago, I thought lost to Damone Blackshear. I picked Mario Bautista to win the fight, but I think a lot of people thought Damone Blackshear beat him on 5 days notice, a week after winning his last fight by Twister against Jose Johnson. Damone Blackshear came back, traveled all the way to Boston to fight Mario Bautista, lost the fight. But if you go back and rewatch that one, Damon Blackshear outstrikes Mario Bautista. He outgrapples Mario Bautista. He should have won the fight. Batista's coming off his biggest win to date. It's a win over Ricky Simón. It's the first fight card of 2024. Magomed Ankalaev, Johnny Walker's the main event, and Mario Bautista goes out there and outstrikes Ricky Simón and wins the fight. Ricky Simón cannot get the fight down to the ground, and Mario Bautista outstruck him to victory. But again, guys, Mario Bautista has not fought anybody since Corey Sandhagen's UFC debut in 2019 on the level of Jose Aldo Jr., who arguably should be fighting for the world championship, not fighting contender fights against guys. A guy in Mario Bautista who's only lost 2 fights ever in the UFC, who's on the up and up, who is an up-and-coming guy, who name-wise nobody really knows, but if you watch the sport, you know how good Mario Bautista is. Jose Aldo Jr. should not be in these type of fights. Jose Aldo should be in fights against, I don't know, Corey Sandhagen next, Sean O'Malley. These are the guys that he should be fighting. Henry Cejudo. Jose Aldo has already beat Marlon Vera, who's number 7 in the weight class. And he's yet ranked number 10. He's beat Rob Font before, yet Rob Font's ranked 9, Jose Aldo's 10. It doesn't make any sense. And why does Jose Aldo Jr., who comes back, beats Jonathan Martinez in Brazil, still have to fight down the rankings? He's 10, he's fighting Mario Bautista, who's 11. It doesn't make any sense. Regardless, Jose Aldo is going to be able to outstrike Mario Bautista in this fight. If Damon Blackshear is able to outstrike Mario Bautista, Jose Aldo should do the same exact thing. I don't care he's 38 years old. What has Jose Aldo done recently to prove to you that he's not still a top 5 guy in the weight class? His loss is to Merab Dvalishvili. Nobody beats Merab. And Jose Aldo has looked the best against Merab than anyone has in Merab's last 3 fights against former champions. 4 fights against former champions. Out of Cejudo, Aldo, Jan, and O'Malley, by far Jose Aldo looked the best against Merab. Merab couldn't take him down. Aldo just got pushed back against the fence, and Merab just did enough to win the fight because Aldo was always so scared of the takedown. Merab actually, and like he did against O'Malley too, would win moments on the feet. He pushed Aldo against the fence. He kind of just outboring his way to victory. And Merab won in Utah, but still, that was Aldo's first retirement. Guys, that's his only loss since losing to Jan for the belt in 2020. Aldo's still very high level. What did Aldo do after losing to Jan? He went and beat Pedro Munoz and Marlon Vera in back-to-back fights, and then Rob Font. By the way, Vera and Font are still ranked ahead of him in the weight class. Aldo's going to be able to outstrike Mario Bautista in this fight. Bautista's coming off a big win of Ricky Simón, but again, he's never fought anybody on this level yet. And when he's fought decent strikers, Sandhagen and Trevin Jones, he's lost. Again, the win streak of Bautista is nice, but guys, look back at the guys he's beat. Okay, Jay Perrin, not in the UFC. Brian Keller, bottom of the barrel at this point. Benito Lopez, not in the UFC. Guido Canetti was 41 years old, not in the UFC anymore. Damon Blackshear, he lost the fight. Ricky Simón is a wrestler who, if you get him on the feet, Uriah Faber at 43 years old knocked out Ricky Simón. I don't care. No way, no how should Jose Aldo be an underdog in this fight. Unless he gets robbed with the decision, Jose Aldo's not losing to Mario Bautista. Mario Bautista has not felt a Jose Aldo leg kick yet. Jose Aldo was still very impressive in the Jonathan Martinez fight. Bautista's better than Jonathan Martinez, sure, but Jose Aldo will be able to put a beat down on Mario Bautista. I don't care it's an elevation. It does not matter to me. Jose Aldo wins every single round of this fight, and he dominates Mario Bautista. Get this guy in the top 5. Get him against Corey Sandhagen. Get him against Henry Cejudo. Give me him versus Sean O'Malley. One of those fights. Guys, Aldo comes back. After leaving the UFC, he beats Mario Bautista. His only loss to Merab Dvalishvili, he's ranked 10. Henry Cejudo comes back, loses to Merab Dvalishvili, loses to Aljamain Sterling for the belt. He's still ranked number 6. Make it make sense. Jose Aldo wins the fight. He'll get it done by unanimous decision. He'll beat Mario Bautista. All right, guys, it's our bantamweight title fight. Raquel Pennington takes on Juliana Pena. I've been stoked for this fight. I've been stoked for it. I've been waiting for it. But the thing is, we've known this fight's going to happen. We've known about it since Raquel Pennington beat Mayra Bueno Silva in January in Canada. We knew that Juliana Pena was likely next for the winner. Pena got hurt, so she couldn't fight in the vacant title fight. She got hurt, so she couldn't fight Nunes in Canada, the pay-per-view before that in Canada for the 135-pound championship. That's why it was Irene Aldana versus Amanda Nunes. Pennington, won the belt. She beat Mayra Bueno Silva, who looked horrible, who gassed out, did not know how to fight in a 5-round environment. That's fine. Now Raquel Pennington fights Juliana Pena. And I was, again, if you were watching the UFC Paris card, again, you saw them run that little promo between Pennington and Juliana Pena. Now, I took that opportunity to go to the bathroom. However, I did catch a little bit of it. There's beef, I guess, from the Ultimate Fighter, right? I vaguely remember their beef in the Ultimate Fighter. I vaguely remember Juliana having beef with Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey during that season. Of course, Juliana was a, Misha Tate product or whatnot. I vaguely remember the beef, but I'll describe it for you now. Juliana Pena, I'm serious, this is the beef in this fight. Juliana Pena was helping Raquel Pennington do her makeup, and then she found out that Raquel Pennington was talking crap behind her back in the Ultimate Fighter house. And that's why they don't like each other. Because all of that. And because Juliana says Raquel is jealous of her being, the first female Ultimate Fighter. Pennington lost in the semifinals, so she didn't get to fight Pena. Obviously, Raquel got signed to the UFC. Her first UFC fight was against Roxanne Modafferi, of all people. But anyways, now here we are. Again, it is 11 years in the making. Juliana Pena and Raquel Pennington. I can't believe I just said those words, but it is 11 years in the making that we finally get this fight. I've done my little piece on Juliana Pena. I talked about her. If you watched, I'm sure if you watched the video right now, you saw me talking about Kayla Harrison and Kelvin Vieira, and I did my little spiel talking about Juliana Pena. I don't have much else to say other than the fact that I think Juliana Pena actually beats Raquel Pennington. I think she does. Raquel Pennington. Okay, both of these fighters are very flawed skillfully. They just are. They just are. But I do think Juliana Pena has the better grappling. I actually think she does. And I think if Juliana Pena actually goes into this fight the way she did in the second Amanda Nunes fight and the first Amanda Nunes fight, regardless, I think she actually wins. Because that style of fight beats a lot of fighters at 135 pounds. I think Juliana Pena's win when she beat Amanda Nunes the first time around for the championship in 2021 kind of exposed how bad, well, I think we've already kind of known this, but we didn't really know this about Amanda, and obviously Amanda made the adjustments, but it exposed kind of how bad the weight class is at 135 pounds. That Juliana, who skillfully did not look all that impressive, she went in there and charged in and beat Amanda. And Amanda, who again knocked out Chris Cyborg, didn't know what to do when Juliana blitzed her and Juliana pressured her. If Juliana does that same thing against Raquel Pennington, I think that's fine, because Juliana Pena, say what you want about her. Again, she makes you care about the fight, but also she can take damage, and she got knocked down 3 times against Amanda Nunes and kept getting back up and had a submission in the 5th round that was not close to being in, but was still threatening, or not close to ending the fight, but was still threatening in that 5th round against Amanda Nunes in a fight where, yes, Juliana was the reigning champion. I think that style of fight actually wins her this fight against Raquel Pennington. I know Pennington, prior, again, to her title run, was kind of known for just winning back and forth when there are wars in women's MMA. Raquel Pennington would be in those type of wars, and she'd win these bloody fights in the feet. But I actually think that favors Juliana Pena. Not because Pena is a better striker, it's because that elevation, Pena, I think, can do this for a while. And Pena can get in Pennington's face, and make it tough on her like she did Amanda. And I think, again, if Pena is able to get in this back and forth type fight, get Pennington thinking this is just a pure striking fight, boom, Pena drops levels, clinches, gets a body lock, gets the fight down to the ground, and then, again, eventually applies the pressure on the ground, eventually where she gets the submission. I kind of think that's how this fight goes, personally. Ever since this fight was announced, I thought Juliana Pena was going to win. I thought Juliana Pena was going to beat Pennington prior to her fighting Mayra Bueno. Obviously, it was either Pennington or Mayra Bueno Silva. I thought Pena was going to beat both of those fighters. I think the way Pena fights, again, personally, to me, I think it exposes how bad the weight class is, but I think it works because I think it's a style of fight that she can beat a lot of fighters with. Now, is she going to beat Kayla Harrison? I don't think so. I'll make the case ever so slightly, and this could either look really bad or really good after Saturday night in Utah. I'll make the case that Pena has a style to beat Kayla Harrison. I will get to that if that ever happens, and I kind of said it earlier when we were talking about Kayla Harrison as well, but I think Larissa Pacheco saw a lot of success. I know Juliana Pena is no Larissa Pacheco, but I think there's an opportunity for Juliana Pena to beat Kayla Harrison. I don't think she does. I would pick Kayla Harrison, but I do think there would be an opportunity for Juliana to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if Juliana wins the fight. She calls out Amanda Nunes. Nunes doesn't come back to fight her. I wouldn't be surprised if Pena just retires. There's no point in fighting Kayla Harrison. Just retire as a 2-time champion and just vacate the belt again. I don't think she would, but both these fighters are getting up there, right? Raquel's 36, Juliana's 35. I'm taking Juliana to win the fight by 3rd round submission. Again, I think eventually Juliana is going to mix it up, drop levels, get the fight down to the ground, and then find a way to submission to Raquel Pennington. I think, again, the way Juliana fights, I think is going to be very troubling for Raquel Pennington going into this fight. Again, because Pena's not afraid to get hit. Again, say what you want about her. She's not scared at all. She's going to go in there, and guys, she's gone 40 minutes with Amanda Nunes. She's not scared of Raquel Pennington in the slightest. I think, again, you can look at Juliana's trash talk and you can say it's corny or whatnot, but I think one thing, Juliana Pena believes a lot of the things she says. And when she says she's the best in the world, she believes it, and she's going to walk into that fight thinking she's the best in the world. I think she's the better grappler, she's the better wrestler in this fight, and skillfully, no, is she a better striker than Raquel Pennington? She's not. But the way she's able to bring the pressure, the way she's going to be able to push Raquel Pennington back, the way she's going to make Raquel Pennington uncomfortable in this fight is what is going to propel Juliana Pena to reclaim the championship. And yes, 2 years after losing it, Juliana Pena will reclaim the UFC Bantamweight Championship. She has not won a fight since 2021, but Juliana Pena is going to reclaim the belt. Give me the Venezuelan vixen to win the belt back. Juliana Pena submits Raquel Pennington and gets it done in the 3rd round. All right, to our main event. Alex Pereira defends the world championship against Khalil Rountree Jr. I don't think this is too hot of a take. I don't think, again, I'm not going to make you wait on the pick. I'll talk about it after. Alex Pereira is going to knock out Khalil Rountree Jr. in the 1st round. That's not a difficult pick at all. It's going to happen, and it's going to happen very quickly. Poatan is levels ahead of Khalil Rountree Jr. Go back and watch Khalil Rountree versus Anthony Smith. Khalil Rountree pulls away in the 2nd round. But in the 1st round, that's a very close fight. It's a very close fight. Alex Pereira is going to do mean things to Khalil Rountree Jr. Alex Pereira has been fighting the best strikers in the world. And you can go back. There's a video on YouTube. It's the greatest kickboxing performance of all time, or Muay Thai performance of all time. Khalil Rountree Jr. versus Eric Anders. That's great. He looks awesome in that fight. But that was in 2019. What do you do after that, guys? He got knocked out by Ion Cutelaba. And then Marcin Prachnio beat him. Marcin Prachnio beat Khalil Rountree Jr. in 2021. And I get it. Yeah, Pereira wasn't even in the UFC yet. But still, the fact that Rountree lost a straight kickboxing fight and got outpointed by Marcin Prachnio did not do any damage to Marcin Prachnio in 2021. A Conor McGregor undercard is why I cannot buy Khalil Rountree Jr. as a serious title challenger. He's not a serious title challenger. He's not. Jamal Hill probably would have beat Khalil Rountree if they fought. I think so. Obviously, it never happened. Because Khalil got suspended for PEDs, and now here he is in a title fight. Well, now he's going to be off whatever he was on. So there's that. But what's his win streak like going into a title fight? Okay, he oblique kicked Modestas Bukauskas. He beat Carl Roberson, who's not in the UFC anymore. I personally thought Dustin Jacoby beat him, but they gave the nod to Rountree. I'm not too mad at the decision, but I thought Jacoby did enough. He beats Chris Daukaus, who's no longer in the UFC at 205 pounds, who gets knocked out against Chris Daukaus by everybody. And then he beats Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith, if he won that fight, would be fighting this fight right now. But again, here we are. Alex Pereira, again, what do I need to say about Poatan? He's the man. Now, again, should this be Magomed Ankalaev? Sure, but am I complaining? No, I don't want to see Magomed Ankalaev as world champion. Do you want to see Magomed Ankalaev as champion? No, it's best for the sport that Pereira wins, obviously. And that's what they're doing. This is just another fight that's going to be on Pereira's highlight reel. And I'm not complaining at all. Don't get me wrong. I'm very excited that I'm going to go out and see Alex Pereira win another fight by knockout. Again, we need to cherish these moments that we get with Alex Pereira. He's 37 years old. He's not getting any younger. Again, he entered the sport very late. He's arguably already a top 10 fighter in UFC history. I will get to heavyweight Alex Pereira in a quick moment here. But still, he's 37. Pereira does not have much time left at this high of a level. But this is, again, another fight that he will win. Khalil Rountree Jr. has never shot a takedown in his UFC career. Never. And he's fought more fights than Alex Pereira has. Khalil Rountree in the UFC has fought more fights than Alex Pereira has in his professional career. He's fought 14. And he's never once shot a takedown. Not going to change here. Rountree said as soon as the fight was announced, I'm not shooting takedowns. I'm going to go out here and try to knock this guy out. Now, again, that's kind of what everyone does when they fight Pereira. They think, I'm a kickboxer now. I can beat one of the greatest kickboxers ever. I can be a former glory champion kickboxing. Sean Strickland said that. I don't care. Izzy struck with him, obviously. What was Izzy going to do, right? But Strickland, Prochazka, Jamal Hill, have all done the same thing. Jan Blachowicz tried, and Jan Blachowicz was very successful and almost won that fight. But Khalil Rountree, that's not gamesmanship that he's saying that I'm not going to shoot a takedown. It's not also him being, having a big ego. It's like, oh, I'm just going to beat Pereira what he's best at. Like Jamal Hill said, no, that's just not Khalil Rountree's game. He doesn't shoot takedowns. So, again, that's why he's in this spot. That's why the UFC has fed Khalil Rountree to Alex Pereira in a title fight. It's because they know Rountree's not going to shoot takedowns. It's a much bigger version of Ihor Potieria versus Cesar Almeida on this undercard. They know Ihor Potieria is not going to be able to take down Cesar Almeida, so they gave him Cesar Almeida because they want Almeida to knock him out. They know Rountree's not even going to try to attempt to take down against Pereira. So, again, Pereira's going to knock him out. Guys, Rountree's not going to be able to close distance against Pereira. He's not going to catch him, obviously. He's much shorter than Pereira. Pereira's got 3-4 inches on him in terms of height. Reach-wise, Pereira's got 5 inches on him. Like, again, Rountree's going to struggle so much trying to close distance and trying to land a big shot in this fight. Pereira's going to catch him on the way in. He's going to knock him out. He is. It's a left hook knockout. And I can see this. Again, this is evident from miles away. Alex Pereira left hook knockout. Duh. He's going to catch Rountree. It's like, again, Pereira, sure, could he catch him with a head kick too? He could, like he did in his last fight, but this is a left hook like he did against Prochazka the first time around, Jamal Hill the second time. Jamal Hill the first time as well. When this guy touches you, you go down. We've seen it in both Prochazka fights. Nobody's been able to do that to Yuri so far. Jamal Hill dropped just like that when Pereira hit him on the chin. That's what happens. Khalil Rountree's fought nobody of the level of Poatan, obviously. And you're never going to see another level of kickboxer so far, in the UFC ever again. You're not. Pereira's on a different level. Now, okay, I don't think Pereira's next fight should be Magomed Ankalaev. I understand Magomed Ankalaev is fighting Alexander Rakic. We can hold on to that. We can. Someday Pereira can fight Magomed Ankalaev. But now, Alex Pereira needs to be smart with this call out here. And I don't care if you call ducking Magomed Ankalaev. Nobody wants to watch Magomed Ankalaev fight for the World Championship. And maybe Rakic gets him. Hey, Jan Blachowicz had a lot of success leg kicking Magomed Ankalaev. Magomed Ankalaev could barely walk at the end of that fight. Alexander Rakic has the best leg kicks in this division, other than Pereira, obviously, but he's got really good leg kicks, and maybe Rakic, gives Magomed some trouble. I don't know. We'll get to that fight again when we get there next month in Abu Dhabi. For this fight, though, Pereira should beat Rountree, and he should call out Tom Aspinall. John Jones is going to beat Stipe Miocic, or if he doesn't, Stipe wins regardless. The winner is going to retire. The championship's going to be vacant. No, Tom Aspinall is going to get promoted world champion. Okay. Alex Pereira can now set himself up, and this is perfect now that Cyril Gane and Alexander Volkov's not till December. Because now Pereira can jump in the front of the line. That fight's going to be, again, November. Jones is going to, vacate the belt. Miocic is going to vacate the belt. Boom. Pereira can step right in. Tom Aspinall's promoted world champion. You do it, let's say January or February. Alex Pereira, Tom Aspinall for the heavyweight championship of the world. It writes itself. Seriously. And it's the best way to do it too, because now Pereira's in the front of the line. Aspinall gets promoted champion, and now we don't have a contender. We don't have a number one contender. The number one contender will come in the form of Cyril Gane versus Alexander Volkov. But what Pereira can do meanwhile, because that fight's 3 weeks after Jones Miocic, boom, Alex Pereira can jump right in and take the title fight. He should call out Aspinall right now. Get ahead of it, because that's gonna. Tom Aspinall is gonna be the heavyweight champion come November. Regardless of who wins between Stipe and John Jones, the winner's retiring. Maybe John Jones sticks around. I don't see it. I don't see it. If Jones is going to fight again, John Jones isn't stupid. He's going to let Alex Pereira fight Tom Aspinall for the belt, and if Pereira wins, then Jones is going to jump right back in and fight Pereira. And guys, let's be honest. John Jones will beat Alex Pereira in a fight. He'll take him down, and he'll choke him out in the first round, okay? But he doesn't want Aspinall, I don't think. I hope he fights him. But I'm just going to be honest with you, I don't think that fight ever happens. So if Jones beats Miocic, he'll retire. He'll step away like GSP did. He'll let Pereira fight Aspinall. If Pereira wins, boom, Jones comes back in. If Aspinall wins, Jones is already the greatest of all time. Dana's going to glaze him till the end of time. Don't get me wrong, I think John Jones is the greatest of all time too. I'm just not saying, I'm not saying he's the best pound-for-pound guy right now, but there's no reason for Jones to fight Tom Aspinall. Because to the casual fan, again, if you watch this video, you're not a casual fan, but you know who Tom Aspinall is. But for someone who watches, 3 UFCs a year, who knows who Conor McGregor is, who knows who John Jones is, who knows who Alex Pereira is, who knows who Israel Adesanya is, you might not know who Tom Aspinall is, because he's fought Curtis Blades on a co-main event, and he's fought Sergey Pavlovich in a co-main event. He hasn't fought a big name yet that the casual fans know. John Jones, why risk the legacy fighting Tom Aspinall, who, yes, the hardcores know how good Tom Aspinall is. He moves like a middleweight at heavyweight, but why risk that? Go retire. And if Pereira can somehow beat Aspinall, which personally I don't think he can, but if he does, boom, fight Pereira. And again, it's a no-lose situation for Pereira to go up to heavyweight. He wins the fight. Alex Pereira's the greatest fighter of all time. Move aside John Jones. I don't care. Pereira's the GOAT if he beats Tom Aspinall at heavyweight. He'd be the former middleweight champion, and then he'd be double champion like heavyweight and heavyweight at the same time. And on top of that, he'd have 3. Something nobody's ever done. Chael Sonnen makes this point a lot, but it's very true. If Alex Pereira wins 3 belts, he's the greatest fighter of all time. I don't care. He would only have, 15 fights to his name? He's the GOAT if that happens. Does it happen? The odds are very slim, because I don't think he wins that heavyweight against Aspinall or Jones. If somehow Cyril Gane ended up with the belt, I could see it. I'll be honest with you, but that's not gonna. I don't think Gane's gonna end up with the belt. There is a way if Gane beats Volkov and Aspinall's first defense is Gane somehow wins, then yeah, Pereira could get a Gane fight for the belt and win the belt. I don't think it happens. That's a lot that needs to happen, to go the right way for Pereira to get a Gane fight. But I just think that's the easiest matchup at 65, just because again, Gane's not gonna take him down. But it's a no-lose. You lose the fight to Aspinall, okay, who cares? Everyone loses to Aspinall. He'll probably just get submitted if it happens. Won't take too much damage. He'll get tackled. He'll get wrestled right away. He's not going to get knocked out by Aspinall. Aspinall will just submit him. And boom, Pereira can just come back down to 205. Or he just retire after 2. And just screw Magomed Ankalaev. We don't care. We don't care about Ankalaev. I have nothing against Magomed Ankalaev personally. Pereira's the man. We don't need Magomed Ankalaev in the title picture. We just don't. We don't need another Dagestani in the title picture. We just don't. Okay, nothing against Dagestanis. It's just for the health of the sport, guys. We need Pereira to keep winning. And on Saturday night, he's going to add to the highlight reel. He'll knock out Killer Rountree Jr. It's just a matter of what he does after the fight. I think he calls out Tom Aspinall. I hope he does, because that fight is right there for him. Boom. Wait for Jones Miocic. Pereira's the number 1 contender. Aspinall's first title defense is Alex Pereira. I think it writes itself, guys. We're going with Alex Pereira, though, to beat Killer Rountree Jr. That's not a hard pick at all. Rountree doesn't wrestle, and Pereira is the 10 times the striker Killer Rountree Jr. is. Killer Rountree, again, got outstruck by Marcin Prokhnov 3 years ago. You're not going to fix everything. Alex Pereira is levels ahead of Rountree, and it's not even close. So, folks, thank y'all for watching our UFC 307 predictions here on the channel from the Delta Center in Salt Lake City, Utah. If you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. We'll be back next week for UFC Fight Night back in the Apex. We go from the Sphere to Paris to Salt Lake City to the Apex. We've got Tatsuro Taira and Brandon Royval in the main event next week in a good flyweight fight that should be in front of a crowd, should be in Japan. But it is what it is. It's in the Apex, so make sure to join us for that next week, folks. Make sure to go check out our college football predictions coming on the channel on Tuesday, our MLB predictions either on Monday or Tuesday, and our NFL predictions on Wednesday as well. Thank y'all for watching, folks. Make sure that subscribe button down below for more, and Mamba